Recently, I've seen two new entries into the E-Ink Spectra 6 market, but I think there are some caveats that you should know about these two. So in this video, I want to walk you through that. So today, I just got an Instagram ad for this Fraimic E-Ink Spectra 6 art frame, and I wanted to dig into it a little bit. I think it just came out because if you can imagine, my Instagram algorithm is very Spectra 6 heavy right now. There aren't that many details, but I think there's some stuff we can infer here because the prices are pretty good for this right now. They have the typical 13.3 that pretty much every manufacturer has right now: reflection frame, Allure-Tech, Bluminate, ink poster, and now Fraimic. But that one is pretty cheap. You can see here it's at $279 right now. And so you can save 120, so it's gonna be 400 bucks. So that is a good price. This is kind of interesting because they have the 31.3 inch screen. I'm kind of wondering if it's not this 31.5 because that's the only Spectra 6 that I've seen at this size. The ink poster has this one as well. Anyways, it's a QHD panel, 2560 by 1440, which actually does make it a little bit lower DPI. So look, if you look at the ink poster one, they have the specific specs here, and you can see that the DPI on this panel is 94, which is much lower than the 150 on the 13.3 inch. The thing about this though is that it's $699. I'm gonna assume it's that same 31.5 inch panel that we've only seen from ink poster and the Samsung EMDX, which I'm gonna show you in a little bit. $699 is a pretty low price for that because if you look at the ink poster, it is $1699. At the early bird price on this website, that is $1,000 difference. I'm gonna reach out to the company because there aren't many details. I checked for their social media. Also, you can sign up for a reserve launch invite here. Looks like you can put a $20 deposit and then you will get access to those discounts. And they also have a 100% refund guarantee. Seems like it's pretty low risk, but I do need to do more research into this company. So please also do your own research as well. But one interesting thing I saw here is that they only had the 13.3 and the 31.3 they claim. This one right here, it's pretty gigantic. That is definitely not the 28-inch Sharp Exo panel. It looks almost like the 40-inch, which was a prototype that I saw at CES from Ink Poster, but they didn't say any plans of when they're gonna release that one. If you put that screen in relation to this guy right here, that does look like the A1 size, which is 40.5. I'm not saying that they're gonna make that, but maybe that could be a little teaser. That would be awesome because that's by far the panel that I'm most looking forward to, the gigantic one that has Sharp Exo. So quick update, I'm doing some editing here and I did reach out to Fraimic and they responded. It seems like they're just gonna have those two sizes. I'm not sure about that A1 size, it's just speculation. One interesting thing about this is they're trying to do voice to art creation. So I think there is a microphone in the display and then you can talk to it, and I'm assuming it's using some form of ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. And then it is creating that image onto the device itself without an app. But luckily it's not just voice dictated, because I think there's pros and cons to this, because you can imagine that if you say something and then it uploads something cool, like you're happy, but there is always a chance that it puts on something that you're not really interested in, and then you wasted a little bit of battery doing that. So it is nice that there is also the web page here, so you can directly upload stuff to that. We know that that process takes about 15, maybe 20 seconds. So these are the 31.5s. You can tell because they're a 16 by 9 and they're more of a poster style, which is a little more vertical. Something like this big one, I think it's a 4 by 3 ratio. Allure-Tech, Bluminate, reflection frame, they do not have this 31.5 inch style. It's only ink poster and the Samsung EMDX that we're gonna talk about in a second that have used this 31.5. And so this is by far the cheapest I've seen it, because you'll see the Samsung EMDX is well over the $1,000 price point. But yeah, they have one of the little charts here, so we'll just go through it quickly. So these are other Spectra e-ink frames, and I believe the Samsung frame, they have to be talking about the TVs because they're saying full color ink quality, and the Samsung EMDX you'll see does have full color ink quality, but the Samsung frame TVs do not, and they're not paper-like. I mean, they try to be, but they're not. I will be reviewing the Samsung Frame Pro actually, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, okay, so if we look at the X's, it is app-free. I don't think that's an accurate depiction because Bluminate does have an SD card. So yes, it has an app, but you could directly load stuff onto there. And then the Allure-Tech as well can store up to 10 images on it. And so that has an app, but you can also directly load stuff onto it. So I don't think that's very accurate. The voice to vision AI creation, yes, that's accurate. None of them have that. And then affordable, I guess technically it is 20 bucks cheaper initially, but it will be 400 it looks like for the 13.3 inch size. And then lastly for the Fraimic, I signed up to their waiting list, and then you basically get access to 30% off. You get access to their campaign page, and then you get a private Discord with the community. Anyways, if you know any more about this Fraimic or even the Samsung EMDX that I'm gonna talk about now, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear if you have one of the Samsungs or if you're considering getting one of these. And next up, I've had some people comment about the Samsung EMDX, and I just want to give you my thoughts about it. So this is the same panel as the Fraimic we were just talking about, but they listed as 32. So technically I think it should be 31.5 like I was saying, but Fraimic seems to be going down and Samsung seems to be going up. The interesting thing I think about this one is just like the Allure Tech, it doesn't have the pass part out frame. Probably got some sort of VESA mount. It's very, very thin. It's 0.7 inches. So it's got a little kind of backplate there. And this is definitely meant for digital signage more. But a lot of people on my ink poster video commented that they didn't want some sort of art looking thing, like a pass part out that looks like more traditional art. So this is something that I think people would be interested in. It's 1350, but you can see it's very thin here, 8.6 millimeter edge, and then about 18 millimeters in total. And it does have a little stand as well. But one thing I noticed, this battery is 4,600 milliamp hours, which may seem big, but that's actually comically small. That is smaller than the battery in my cell phone. And if you look at the ink poster, for example, this is the same panel. It is 25,000 milliamp hours, so 5 times bigger. This is one that I'm like kind of interested in because I think it might look cool. But like I mentioned, the DPI of these is lower. It's 94 DPI. Versus some of the other ones, which are in the 130, 150, even higher range. You can see here they also have this VXT app. I think it's a specific software to make more poster style things for your business or signage like that. But if you do look up close here, it says Samsung VXT must be purchased separately. It's 200 by 200 VESA. I'm sorry, but how the hell is the motion rate 120 hertz up to 165? Frame TV? I don't know. They definitely copied that from one of their TVs. Yeah, I wouldn't trust this information. But it does look like it has 8 gigabytes of flash memory. Yeah, how on earth? There's no way e-ink is 120 hertz up to 165. That's like your good gaming monitor nowadays has that. Let's download the spec sheet real quick and see. So it is running Tizen OS. And yeah, in the official spec sheet here, it does not say anything about refresh rate, but it's e-ink. So, I mean, Spectra 6 has a horrendous refresh rate. We know that already. And it's not meant for refresh rate. It's meant for static images. Anyways, I was very curious about this, so I did some digging and I found a Reddit post. This guy, Well, if you're watching this at all, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear more about your experience with this. But anyways, he says the app is terrible. It doesn't sync half the time and the device goes to sleep even when I don't want it to, so you need to wake it up by pressing a button. Hope these things will be fixed with a later update. This is Samsung's first implementation of an e-ink panel. I think that the app will probably be resolved at some point. But anyways, this guy reverse engineered the protocol and he has a GitHub of a module that he built where you can then upload your own images to it. So if you end up getting one of these, I would recommend checking this out. Then someone referenced the Sharp IGZO. I had not seen this panel before actually. It does not say it's Sharp IGZO though. It just says it's by Sharp. And this is 25.3. This is not really a size I've seen before. So if anyone knows anything about this one, leave a comment below, but it's very expensive. It's almost 3K. I'm just getting sidetracked, sorry. This is the frame he showed. So he does mention, kind of like Spectra 6, says, you know, it does need decent lighting to look really good. He was impressed with the colors and whatnot. And then I think they were talking about, you can see the left one looks a little bit better here. Also here is a photo he had on it. It is a pretty unique looking thing. This could be really good for movie posters, which I mean, a lot of movie posters, like, you know, the ones he's showing here, maybe you like it in a frame, but some people might like it just like the looking like an actual just movie poster. Anyways, personal preference. And interestingly enough, like I was talking about the battery, he says in my testing period where I wirelessly sent 50 images a day, the battery was flat in 2 days. So that's 100 images and it's gone in 2 days. So that would mean in like 3 months, you would run your battery flat if you're changing it every day. So like I said, comically small, but if you scale that to the ink poster, 5 times the battery, that does equate to over a year if you're doing it every day. So Yeah, interesting decision by Samsung, but I guess these are meant more for signage. So I don't know if they're expecting people to just charge them more or what's going on there. He did end up building a pass part out, which I thought was a little funny just because, it's already $13.50 and then you're spending money on building a pass part out. That's almost the price of the ink poster, which is $16.99 for the 31.5. Some other guy was saying you just received the panel, and then he's saying lifting shadows and changing contrast can enhance the image a little bit, which is what I found too in my personal experience. You do want things to be more contrast rich, and then it'll pop a little bit more on Spectra. I think it's still a cool product. It's a little expensive, but it is unique in the sense that it's the only one that doesn't have an art frame around it. That could be interesting, but it seems like the app needs to get better. So I think for the average consumer, this is not going to be something that you're going to want to play around with. But it's also meant for smart signage. So just note that. I'll link everything below and other art frames that I've talked about too. And then on the ink poster, I noticed that, well, first of all, they actually have names now. So the 28.5 is called the Tela, which means screen in kind of Latin-based languages. And then a fresco is, that's kind of like a mural art style, I believe. So they've named these two. If we go to like the actual product page, they're saying they're gonna deliver next week. So I'll reach out to Enrico and see what's going on there. Anyways, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. But I did do an e-ink Spectra update here a couple weeks ago on some of the other ones in the market. And I have a whole Spectra 6 playlist you can check out right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.